Yeah, I had to add more tables because we had more people sign up for this class than last class. So I had like 18 people I had to prepare for, which is pretty good. And I know one person's not coming until after 7. Oh, that was you.
No, that I warned people.
Oh, you're gonna leave at 7. Oh, okay. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, there might still be some stragglers, but that's fine. We'll get started anyway. And I'm going to talk to the camera. Hi, my name is Mike. I am the computer guy here at East Chicago Public Library, and today is part 2 of our computer classes here. And today we're going to talk about the internet. This is Introduction to the Internet. So this is for beginners. If you've never been online at all, this is a good place to start. But even if you're kind of experienced with being online, hopefully this will fill in some blanks for you. Okay? I have people come and they're like, I'm pretty good with stuff anyway, but then it fills in some blanks. Okay? So we're going to learn where it came from, a little bit of history. I think that helps too. Why it works the way it does, because last week we talked about tablets and smartphones, and those are devices that work specifically with the internet in mind. Okay, they are internet-based devices, or we also call that cloud-based devices. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what is the internet. We're going to talk about different types of internet access, things that you can order for your home to get on the internet at home. Talk about using the internet. We're going to talk about what the cloud is. Okay, we're going to introduce you to the concept of a browser. What is a browser? The browser is the computer program or application that we use to look at websites on the internet. That's pretty much all it does. Turns out it can do a lot just by doing only that. Okay, and then at the end, I'm going to talk about some interesting web pages to look at, some interesting sites that you can go to. So we got some upcoming classes. So so much of what we do on computers now is cloud-based, working with the internet, that I had to add an entire class on using a browser. So next Tuesday is a class called Using a Modern Browser. We're going to primarily use a browser called Google Chrome. Most browsers these days are very similar, though. And we'll talk all about using a browser next Tuesday. The week after that, April 28th, Tuesday, April 28th, is a class called Safety and Security on the Internet. So that is basically an introduction to being safe and secure when you're using stuff online. I meet people that are afraid to shop online. They're afraid to bank online. They're worried that their information is going to get out there. And that's a legitimate concern, but it is safe. It is very convenient. Now I remember back in the old days, you'd have maybe 1 or 2 days a month where you just have to sit down at the kitchen table and do all your bills. Now the bills pay themselves. It's pretty amazing. But safety and security on the internet's 2 weeks from now, safety and security. So Tuesday, May 5th, there is no class, because it's election day and there's going to be voting in this room. And it's Cinco de Mayo, right. So there will be no class. I have to postpone it. So we're going to skip a week. And then on Tuesday, May 12th, we're going to come back here and have a class on artificial intelligence. Okay, and that's the future. That's where things are going. I also call it, I don't like the term artificial intelligence. I call it machine intelligence. Some other people do. And that's because it's not really artificial. It's actually our intelligence. We have taught machines how to speak and how to reason. That's crazy, but it's real. So we're going to talk all about that on Tuesday, May 12th. The other thing I want to remind everybody is we do have a community help desk here twice a week. So every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 until 4 in the afternoon at our other location, the main library branch, is community help desk. So myself or Sam, my assistant, we just make ourselves available. We sit in a little room up in the front, And it's first come, first serve. Anything that you need technology help with, people bring in laptops and phones, and people even bring in printers and things like that. That is all fine. If you need help getting stuff out of your car, come on in and ask us, because we're a library, so we got a lot of book carts. We'll just roll a book cart out to your car and roll the stuff in. Okay? There are no drop-offs. You have to stay with any hardware that you bring. You can't drop it off and get it fixed. You have to stay with your stuff. We don't have a way to keep track of things that people drop off. So you can bring in your own devices, no drop-offs. You must stay at the computer all the time. So, today, since we're going to be talking about introduction to the internet, you'll understand this a little bit better when, hey Pete, how you doing? I had a no for you today.
No, no,
That is fine. Good to see you. Okay, so when we're done with today, this will make a little bit of sense, but a little bit more sense. But if you want to look at an outline, Alvin, so you got this link. Did you look at it yet already?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the email.
That's fine. That's fine. So, we have a description of all the classes. We have these outlines of all the classes up on the website, okay, and the schedule of the help desk and the classes. And this is where it's at. It's at the domain ecpl.org, and they call this a URL, classes. We will learn what that is. So, Bronca, did I give you a new outline? No. Okay. Thank you. No. Give me a book. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Oh, here. I hope everything's okay. Everything's good. Good. Okay. Okay, so let's get into it. So the right way to start when talking about the internet is learning what a computer network is. Okay, so a computer network is anytime you have two or more computers connected with a wire so they can share information between the two computers. Okay, when I was young, we had personal computers, but they weren't networks. They just existed on my desk. 1982, I had a little Commodore VIC-20. And if I wanted to get information from that computer to another computer, I had to put it on a floppy disk or a cassette tape, believe it or not. But even then, I mean, you didn't have them at home yet, but you could run a wire from one computer to another computer, and you could exchange information between those two computers. Okay. You can also buy a little box, they call it a router, and you can hook up multiple computers together, like this picture here. Having a little box in the middle, and all the computers hook up to a little router, and that's what connects all the computers together. So the internet is a computer network that's worldwide, that anybody can connect to. Okay? And that's not really what it looks like. But so that means that when you're connected to the internet, you can send information from your computer to anybody else who's connected to the internet, and anybody out on the internet who is connected can share information on their computer to anybody who wants to look at it on the internet. Okay? It's not like that. Just plugging into the internet does not mean people can get into your stuff. Okay? You have to share things. And one of the first things we would share with people is we would create a little document on our computer called a web page. That's what a web page is. They're not hard to make, right? Any kind of computer savvy high school kid with a laptop can share a web page from the laptop to the entire internet. It's not that hard to do. Okay. But before we get into that, I like to talk a little bit about where things came from. I think it gives us a clearer idea of how things work overall. So where did the internet come from? Well, it was actually what we call a Sputnik moment. So, how many people are in here are old enough to remember Sputnik? Okay, about a little more than half of us. I'm not old enough. That was before my time. So that was probably what? When was Sputnik? Early '60s, I'd imagine. Yeah. So Sputnik was the first satellite ever to orbit the globe, or orbit the Earth. It was put up there by Russia. And it was during the Cold War, and Americans were really freaked out that Russia was going to be able to drop a bomb on us from outer space. Which was a legitimate concern, I guess. See, the thing is we could see a plane coming with a bomb, right? But if it was in space, we couldn't see it coming. So they said, okay, well, not only did that start the space race to get us to the moon in 1969, but it also started what we call ARPANET, which was the Eisenhower administration during that time. And that was a nationwide computer network that was designed to be like a web. And the reason they designed it like a web was because if there was a giant explosion and a nuclear bomb blew the middle of the United States apart, well, they still needed to communicate between the East Coast and the West Coast. So all of these communication channels, if there was a big bomb right in the middle of us, well, they'd still be able to route it around. It's kind of a web. It's kind of a network web. Okay? And that actually went online in 1969. That was the year I was born. 1969, the internet actually went online. But it was government only. And then they slowly opened it up to other government entities like and universities. It didn't actually get released to the public until much later. So when I started college in 1988, we had the internet in the computer lab at Ball State University in Muncie. But I had to go down to the computer lab to use it. So I sent early email on that internet in 1988 to my friends who were going to Purdue and IU. I could send messages to them on the computer. I mean, it wasn't really that handy because I could just call them. I had a phone in my dorm, but, you know, it was kind of fun. And we were computer geeks, so it was kind of fun. And there was already, like, a little group of, like, nerdy kids hanging out there all the time in the computer lab. 1988. It actually didn't become really usable until 1989. Okay, in 1988, I could send a text over the early internet, and other people could receive it. But I still couldn't look at a web page. There wasn't an application. There wasn't a good way to do it. There wasn't a good way for people to find and view what was available on all of the computers that were connected to this worldwide network until 1989. And this gentleman named Tim Berners-Lee, Tim Berners-Lee invented the program called the browser. Okay. You know, yeah, he was already working in it. So yeah, he became famous at that point. And everybody knows his name. And I just heard an interview with him on BBC recently. He's pretty old now. But yeah, he talked about his whole career. He had a very good career. He was a very smart guy. So he designed two things. He designed the computer language that the internet speaks. And they call that internet language the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Hypertext. It's a language that the internet uses. So that was a way for you to be able to communicate with other machines out on the internet. And he also invented the browser. Hypertext Transfer Protocol is the language he invented. What's interesting about that is we still use it. And if you remember, on the early days of the internet, every website started with HTTP and then a colon and a couple of backslashes. It looked like this, HTTP. And that stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Yeah, and then you'd put in www, and then you'd put in the domain name. Right. So that's what he invented. So then you could go to open a browser and you could type in hypertext transfer, yeah, in hypertext, a name of a computer that you wanted to look at. And that's what they called the domain name. And we still use that system today. But that's still in 1989, it wasn't open to the public. So Al Gore in 1991, um, he was a senator at the time. He wasn't a vice president yet. He met with the people who created the early ARPANET. They were government workers, right? They met with them, and he saw a presentation on how the internet worked and how it could communicate with all these different universities and government agencies and stuff like that. And at that time, he was a senator, and he asked to have a personal meeting with them. And they said yes, because why would you say no if a senator wants to have a meeting with you? That sounds pretty cool. And he asked them, he's like, is this something that we can bring to private enterprise, the public, and the community? And they said, yes, absolutely. There is enough infrastructure in place for everybody in the country to use the ARPANET. So he passed legislation, passed legislation in 1991 called the High Performance Computing Act. He was the only sponsor of it at the time, and that opened up the government internet to everybody. Now, if you're old enough to remember the 1990 campaign, which was George W. Bush versus Al Gore for the presidency, they were giving him a lot of grief because he said he invented the internet. Well, he never said that. He said he was integral to bringing the internet to the public, and he was. But he didn't invent the internet. It didn't help him win, no. No. There were other factors, I'm sure. Bill Clinton was having some problems. Yeah. But anyway, self-induced problems, right? But anyway, so Al Gore was very instrumental in bringing the internet to the public. He was. He also had this crazy idea that somehow the world was going to start heating up about this time. Yeah. A lot of people did. But he wasn't the first one. I remember learning about it in high school. That was before him. You are correct. But that is a discussion for another day. So, let's talk really quick about what is a browser. Because Tim Berners-Lee invented the browser, and that's what we're all using, whether we're on our phones or on a computer. We are using a browser anytime we get on the internet and look at a website or a web page. So, okay, so this is an old video, but it is, but the browsers are a little bit different. Let's see if I can get to this. Oh, let me see if I can get this shut off. This thing off completely. Well, all right, here we go. So, the most popular browser that's out there today is a browser that is made by Google. Okay, and that is a browser named Chrome. The icon for Google Chrome looks like that. It can be confusing for people, a Chrome browser made by Google, because Google does a lot of stuff nowadays. In the early days, Google was just a search engine. That is a very specific type of website that just does one thing. It searches the entire internet for keywords that you put in. That's what a search engine does. And in the early days of a search engine, it was kind of hard to find things. You would search for Jackie Chan, for example. You're a Jackie Chan fan, and you'd come back with like 100,000 results. And who's going to sit there and look at 100,000 different things to look what they're looking for? So in the early days of the internet, people would say to me, they're like, oh, the internet's great, but I can't find anything. That is true. It was very difficult to find things. All right. You had to do a lot of digging. But then Google was the first company that really leveraged the information that we gave it as users to improve their product. So what Google did in the early days, they said, well, if somebody searches for Jackie Chan and they look at all these different sites, but they find one site that is really good and they spend a lot of time on that website, let's take that website and let's give it a page rank. Let's move it up in the list of search results. So the more people used Google and found what they were looking for, the more Google started rating the pages that people found, and then the good, relevant pages kind of rose to the top. We don't exactly know how they do it, because everybody wants to know. Everybody who has a web page out there wants their web page to be the first result when they search for it. It's proprietary, so they don't let us know, but it's actually a combination of a few things. They create spiders, little computer programs that index every web page that's out on the internet. Okay, and then they check to see each web page, how many other web pages link to that web page, how many hits it gets, and the quality of the website as well. So if the website is not a very good quality or spammy or something like that, then it doesn't get a high of a page rank. But they still don't tell you a whole lot because people are always trying to game the system. You know, they have, I've heard in some other countries in the East, they have big giant warehouses of people clicking on websites to try and get page rank up, right? And Google is trying to constantly fight that because, you know, companies will go out there and pay big money for this company that's got a warehouse full of people clicking on websites to try and get their page rank better. You know, so they try to but there are other browsers out there. You can have more than one browser on your computer. The Blue E, that's Internet Explorer. It doesn't exist anymore. They changed the name of it to Microsoft Edge. It still looks like a Blue E, and it's still the same thing, but Microsoft kind of ruined the brand name. It got a bad reputation for being slow, so they decided that it'd be better to stop using it and change the name to Microsoft Edge. And it's a fine browser. There's nothing wrong with it. It comes with every Windows computer you buy. And you have to go to the internet and you have to download and install Google Chrome. You also have on the far right over there, it looks like a compass, that's Safari. That is the browser that comes with your Apple computers. So Microsoft computers come with Edge, or the old Internet Explorer. Apple computers come with Safari. And if you have an iPad, you'll see Safari. That's your browser. Firefox, that little orange fox over there, is a popular one. It's just a third-party browser that people enjoy. Opera is another one I have on this logo. I haven't heard anything from Opera lately. Does Opera still exist, Sam? Do you know? It does. Okay. So yeah, those are different browsers. Next week we're going to do a class all on browsers, so you'll get to know how it works. Yes. Did you have a question? Oh, DuckDuckGo. Yeah. So DuckDuckGo is a browser that will their pitch is they don't use any information from you to get the search results. They advertise it as a more private browser. Okay. There are ways to do that with other browsers, and we'll see that next week. We can use all of these browsers in what they call a in private mode or an incognito mode, where it does not exchange any information. But actually, there are times where I'm very happy that it does exchange information between my browser and the website that I'm on. That can be very useful, and we'll learn about why that is next week. Okay. So let's talk about different types of internet access we can get. So if you want to get internet access at home, you have to go to an internet service provider. And in the early days, it was just over the telephone line. And the first internet I used, that's how it worked. It worked with a modem, and you plug your telephone line into the modem, and then you dial out, and you'd hear. If you were around for that, you remember that sound? Screaming robots in the little box. Yeah. It did. It would disconnect you. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody pick up the phone, they'd click, and it bang. You'd be in the middle of doing something, right? So, right, when you wanted to get on the internet back then, you'd have to say, "Hey, get off the phone. I got to get on the internet." Call waiting. Remember the call waiting beep would knock you off the internet too. But dial-up, it's very thin wires, and there's not a lot of wires on the telephone line, so it was slow. They kind of maxed out its speed. And then after a while, they came up with what they called DSL internet, which was still over the telephone line, but a lot faster. And they call it a digital subscriber line is what DSL stands for. You can still get DSL today, actually. I think AT&T, if you have AT&T phone service at home, you can get internet that still works over the telephone line. What they did was, since they kind of maxed out the speed of the wire, the telephone wire, they put a box on one end and then a box on the other end that would compress the data and make it smaller, and then send it over the wire and uncompress it on the other side. So that's what a DSL modem does. So it doesn't improve the speed, but it compresses the data to make the data smaller and to get the data to go through faster. It's a lot faster. But.
So the DSL and the ISP are both in present.
The ISP is the overall term we call for anybody who sells you internet access. That ISP stands for an internet service provider. Right, so AT&T is an internet service provider. Comcast is an internet service provider. Yeah, computer people, we like to use a lot of TLAs, which are three-letter acronyms, to describe things. So that's what ISP is, your internet service provider. And DSL is a digital subscriber line. Another ISP is Comcast, and they already were in the cable TV industry, right? And if you're not from this area, there's other cable providers in the country that did the same thing as Comcast. And what they did is they were able to get you internet over the coax wire. That's the type of wire you get cable TV in your house. That's pretty fast. So a lot of people, they already had cable TV coming in, so it was a natural progression for Comcast or these cable companies to move into offering internet service at the same time. We also get internet nowadays wirelessly on our mobile phones, on our mobile devices. And we call that cellular internet. And they label it, right now we have 5G access. 5G, the G stands for generation. Okay? So, like, the jump from the fourth generation wireless cellular internet and the fifth generation was a pretty big bump. Okay? It was kind of hard on 4G to watch video on a cell phone. It wasn't really, and it was barely enough. They call it bandwidth. It's another term. Bandwidth is what they call the amount of data they can get through a wire. So your telephone line was a very low bandwidth. The cable was pretty high bandwidth. 4G was a pretty low bandwidth, So you couldn't watch a high definition video on your phone if you have a 4G phone. When they moved to the 5th generation of wireless 5G, now we can watch high definition video on a tablet right through the cell phone towers. And you're actually getting that internet access wirelessly through the cell phone towers. That's how you're getting it here. As a matter of fact, 5G access through the cell phone towers is so fast that now, like Verizon Wireless and some of these mobile phone companies will sell you 5G internet for your house. I went to this a couple years ago, and I've been happy with it. So what you do is you go into Verizon or T-Mobile, and they give you a little box or something, and they say, well, you got to put it by a window. Because if you got, like, internet from the cable company, you had to screw the cable wire into the little box they give you. Well, this box is just getting the internet from the cell phone tower. So when I got my box from Verizon, I had to go around the house, and I had to check the speed at every window to see which window could see the cell phone tower best. Yeah, and there was a window in the back of the house that I got a really fast connection. Apparently the cell phone tower's out there someplace. I don't know. But then we could plug wires into it, and we could hook our devices at home. And it was very affordable because I already had a Verizon cell phone plan. So if you have an unlimited data plan on a cell phone, they'll give you this for your home for like $25 a month, which is really affordable. But you're already kind of paying them for another thing. It's just the way they get you, you know.
Did you ever have it screen before?
I moved from Xfinity to this.
How was it in comparison as far as speed wise?
Well, okay. So the first thing I noticed was, you know how when you have cable internet, just sometimes the internet goes out. It's not all the time, but here and there, you'd be watching TV on Netflix, and then the internet's out, and you wait an hour and it comes back. Well, I don't have that problem with this. And I think I don't have that problem because if there's a problem with the cell phone tower, it'll go to a different cell phone tower. This is Verizon Home Internet, Home 5G Internet. So it's the same internet we get on our cell phones, but they'll give you a box that you can put in your house to get internet at home. T-Mobile offers it too. The thing is it kind of depends on what your service is at your house. If you've got a T-Mobile phone, you can do a speed test. You can go to any browser, type in speed test, and it'll tell you how fast your internet connection is. Yeah, at home. Yeah, and if you can get a good T-Mobile connection or a good Verizon connection, yeah, you can go. And then also, at least Verizon, and I think T-Mobile is the same, it's a no contract thing. So if you take it home for 2 months, you don't like it, take it back, and they won't ask any questions. They'll just stop billing you. It's like Comcast for me was like, hey, we'll give you a real good deal if you sign on for 2 years. And then the second year was more expensive. But also with Comcast is it cost money more for how much data you use. So I was getting 50 megabytes. We'll learn what that is later. 50 megabytes down from Comcast because that's what I paid for. I'm getting 200 to 300 down with this, and I'm not paying any more. So Comcast at the time was costing me $780 a month for the internet, and then this guy brought it down to $50 or 25, half off if you have a phone plan with them already. And it's faster, and it doesn't go down as much. So I've been happy with my Verizon. I've met people with T-Mobile, and they're happy too. The nicest thing is there's no contract, so if it don't work out, just go ahead. It's not working out. And I even think they even gave me a couple weeks. They even said, well, take it home and see if you have good connections, and if you don't, bring it back. And so I went home, and then when it worked out, I called Comcast and told them to take a hike. Another option nowadays is fiber optic. It's actually a thin glass fiber that they spin, and it can transfer data at the speed of light. It's light. It's pulses of light sending the data over a fiber optic cable like this. And it is very fast, and it has a lot of bandwidth. But here's the thing. they just put like fiber optic in my neighborhood. It's like, I don't need it. You know, it said, oh, but you can get all this speed. It's like, yeah, but it's never slow for me. Even on Comcast, I'm a computer guy. We have a bunch of computers in the house, and we're watching TV and everything on the internet. And 50 was plenty with Comcast, really. So the fiber optic, we have it here at the library. I got fiber optic lines coming into 2 locations, one here at Rapp and one at Maine. And it is a really fast, high-speed connection. But see, that's really necessary because I got a computer lab, I got a bunch of employees, I got staff, and a lot of what we use, like all our card catalog stuff is on the internet. So fiber, well, you can get it at home. If you got a bunch of kids that like to game online, you might want to go to this route. But you're probably not going to go that route. It's a little expensive for bandwidth you probably don't need. Yeah.
And when you watch the subdivision, you get clear.
Yeah.
Most subdivisions now don't have clear.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You bury all the cables? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and people dig and cut it all the time. Right. So, one of the things that I've been looking at recently for the library is the cell phone companies will sell businesses this as a backup. Because if my internet goes down here at the library, and it does sometimes, well, it's like, okay, well, you can't use a computer lab, but you also can't check out a book because the computer upstairs is going to a website to check out your book these days. All of our software is more and more cloud-based for security reasons. So once you start doing that, we're probably going to get telephone systems that are going over the internet. Once that happens, I got to have a backup. And they sell this as a backup, and they'll put it on the roof of the building, a wireless backup system. So if our fiber optic goes down, well, then it'll roll over to that, to the cell phone towers in the time being. So the phone system doesn't go down, and you can still check out books and stuff like that. So that is an option. Okay. So I talked to you before about a router. Okay. If you have a computer network, if you only have 2 computers, you can literally run a wire from one computer to the other computer. But as soon as you have more than 2, well, then you have to run each computer to its own little junction box. Okay. This is what we call an Ethernet cable. It looks like a phone jack, plastic with a clip, but it's a little fatter. So basically, the old telephone connections would plug in, and the early phones had 2 wires. Modern phone systems have 4. A network cable like this has 8 wires. Okay, so it looks like a phone jack in the side of the wall, and we have them. So you can see them in the walls, and they look like little orange phone jacks, but they're a little wider, and they're meant for computer data. But what's cool about it, the way they designed it, is if you have a big fat jack for 8 wires in the wall, you can still plug in one of the old telephone cables and it'll work. So modern construction, they'll run this kind of wire for the whole house, whether you want phone on it or computer on it, doesn't matter. The phone will plug into it, the computer will plug into it, everything. But the router is the junction box. So you got to think of it like kind of like a splitter for the internet. Remember in the old days of telephones, you could be on the phone downstairs and somebody could pick up the phone upstairs and just hear what you're saying. Computers can't do that. If that was the case, then you'd have a computer on the internet downstairs asking to see the website CNN, and then all the computers in the house would open CNN. That can't work that way. So what a router does is kind of like a smart splitter, so you can get one internet connection and have 4 computers in the house all attached to the router, and they all communicate separately to the internet. Okay. And they do that. When they connect to the internet, the internet gives your computer a unique number. Okay. If you have 4 computers in the house, the first computer that attaches to the internet, it says, I need a unique number to identify me on the internet so you don't get me confused with another computer. That's pretty much what a router does. They call that number an IP address or an internet protocol address, an IP address. It's a unique number assigned to every device that connects to a computer network. Okay. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's 3 or 4 blocks of 3 digits. Okay. So the first computer that connects, it says, okay, I need a number, and it'll give it a number like that. The second computer that connects to the internet says, oh, I need to connect to it. It'll say, oh, okay, well, number 2 is already taken. We'll give you number 3. If they don't change these numbers, they just give you a new one here. Okay. So that's how multiple computers can connect. Now, in the early days, you had to connect to a wire. Okay? But when laptops came out, well, then people didn't want a wire anymore. Because the whole point of a laptop was to be mobile, right? You want to be able to take it in the living room or take it in the kitchen. And if you're connected to a wire to the router for your internet the whole time, that's going to really hamper things. So then what they did is they figured out a way to put a wireless transmitter in the router and a wireless receiver in the laptop to send the same information that goes over the wire. So basically, if you have a desktop computer at home, you're going to plug the wire into the desktop computer to get on the internet. But if you have a laptop, the same information going over that wire is going to be broadcast wirelessly from a wireless router with little antennas like this to the receiver that's in your phone or your laptop or your device. They call that Wi-Fi.
So those units, let's say, all of them have this receiver or transmitter placed on it by the manufacturer?
That's right. And they call it a Wi-Fi adapter. A wireless, a Wi-Fi adapter. Not all desktops come with it. You can get a desktop computer with Wi-Fi built in, but they don't all come that way. Because most of the time, since those desktop computers are stationary, most of the time people just hook up their desktop computer right next to the router and just plug in. It's faster and more reliable if you plug in. But all the laptops come with it. And your mobile phones come with it too. And you'll notice that like almost all restaurants and bars, all hotels have Wi-Fi that you can get on for free. Sometimes they'll make you put in a password to make sure that you're a paying customer. You're not just living next door trying to get their Wi-Fi. But like here at the library, if you look, when you open up your Wi-Fi settings on your phone or your laptop, the first thing the computer does is it looks in the air to see what Wi-Fi signals it can see, and it gives you a list. So that's what it's doing. It's looking in the air to see what wireless connections you can see. And if there's a password that you need, it'll show you a little lock next to the name. If there's no lock, then it's wide open. You just get on it. So like McDonald's, I don't think they have a password. You can just go over to McDonald's parking lot and you can just get on the Wi-Fi there. We have a guest network here at the library that is the same. You don't have to have a password. You can just get on and use the internet. And back during COVID times, we actually bought some high-powered outdoor Wi-Fi antennas that are probably supplying half the neighborhood, really. They go really far. The Wi-Fi, the high-powered Wi-Fi antenna that I put on the main library, I got a really good signal from it on my phone about a mile away. I walked about a mile away and I was still getting a good signal on that Wi-Fi. So in a sense, your library is an internet service provider. Not only do we provide internet for the entire community if you walk in the door, but we also have public-facing antennas that are pumping the internet out into the park. Because back in COVID, remember, we were closed. We would tell people, well, come to the parking lot if you need to use the internet. And we had reading rooms around East Chicago. Well, and people would. They would come, they were coming into the parking lot and doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Right. They were. And I have some friends that are professional journalists in the area, photographers, photojournalists, and they do that all the time. They go and take pictures of a football game, a high school football game, and then they got to get those pictures uploaded to the paper right away. And they'll just get in their car and they'll run to McDonald's or run to the library and sit out front and just with a laptop and upload all the pictures to the newspaper. So, yes, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, I get, I'm a manager from the top. You know, what's your Wi-Fi? What do you, you know, I mean, I'm getting it down in quite a few places, because I don't keep it.
Yeah, yeah.
But, what do they put that? Wi-Fi, what do you do? So they can get.
In the early days, it was stuck inside that router. And you had to know how to open a browser and look in the router to see the password if you forgot. It's not that hard to do, but your average person wouldn't be able to do it. You'd have to call Comcast and say, hey, I lost my Wi-Fi password. And they'll be like, okay, well, let me get into your router and see what it is. And they tell you what it is. Modern routers, what they do is they put a sticker on the router itself. Most of them come that way. So if you have Comcast, look at your router. It'll say two things. SSID, the SSID is the name, you can give it a name. So if you look in your Wi-Fi and you see ECPL guest, that is what they call it, the ID, the wireless identifier. So, and you connect to that, and then it asks you for a password to connect. That should also be written on the side of the router too. Okay? That being said, you can change it at any time. You can change the SSID, and you can change your password. In the early days of the internet, I kept my Wi-Fi open because I thought, well, the neighbor's kind of far away. If they want to get on my Wi-Fi, it's not going to really affect me. But then things changed over time. People started to realize that if they wanted to do something illegal, like download child pornography, well, they wouldn't do it in their own computer. They'd drive around the neighborhood and find somebody with an open network and do it on their computer. And the next thing you know, you got the FBI banging on your door going, hey, this router was accessing this site. And yeah, so then what happened is they told people at home, well, you password protect your Wi-Fi. You might know your neighbor and you might not care, but just for your own security purposes, keep a password on that to keep that safe. Yeah. Yeah, they can do that too. They have to be pretty close to you to do that though. No, they can't do it driving down the street. They have to be close to you, and you have to be unlocking or locking your car to get it. I just read up on this because we went in February, we went on vacation to Costa Rica, and it's apparently a big thing down there. Yeah, so the rental car company said if you're in a real crowded place, just lock the car manually because people were getting the signal, the fob signal. But when I looked it up, and they said, well, people kind of have to be close to you. So they'd said, hey, if somebody comes up as you're getting out of your car to ask you questions, be wary of that. They might have a little tracker that you're trying to get the code to lock. So then you go on your hike on vacation or your boat ride, and then they can just boop, unlock your car and go through your stuff. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I didn't. When my children asked me to.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So when they open up their phone and you go to Wi-Fi settings or a computer Wi-Fi settings Wi-Fi, any device, it'll show you a list of Wi-Fi it can see in the air. So if I open up my phone and go to Wi-Fi settings right now, you're going to see all the library's Wi-Fi because it's coming out of that box right there in the ceiling. That's my Wi-Fi access point. You might even see a light connection from like people across the street. All right, but that's where they see it. And when they say I want to connect, a little box pops up that says, "Oh, what's the password to connect?" That's what they're looking for. And then they type in the password you give them, and it allows connection. So when you go with your laptop to a motel and you want to use your laptop on the internet, you have to go to Settings, Wi-Fi, and then it'll show you a list of the wireless, they call it access points, Wi-Fi that you can see. and you'll see it'll say Hilton or Best Western, and then you connect to that. And a lot of them will have like a page that'll pop up and say, "Oh, welcome to our internet. Put in your room number and your last name, and then we'll get you connected to the internet so other people won't get on it." But settings, Wi-Fi, and all your devices are going to be about the same. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit last week, but you can. So we're getting internet access on our cell phones through the cell phone towers, right? So there's going to be times where you're going to want to lose your laptop, but you don't have an internet connection, but your phone's got an internet connection. You can turn your cell phone into what they call a Wi-Fi hotspot. And it acts just like the Wi-Fi at the library or at McDonald's, but it's actually going through your phone. So I can, if I turn on my hotspot on my phone, then what I see in the list of available Wi-Fi connections, I'll see my phone. It'll say Mike's Pixel, that I named it. And then you can connect to this and get your internet through this instead of the Wi-Fi there. You know what's nice about that? Your home, Comcast goes out, you're watching Netflix, connect your TV to the phone, finish watching your movie. Then your TV's getting the internet through your phone, but you got to be careful of that because if you don't have unlimited data on your phone plan, about 10 minutes of a movie is going to wipe out your data, right? Because that streaming high definition video is pretty heavy. Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
we were in Dallas. Trying to catch Cowboys playing the Bears.
Yeah.
And TV, one button in the lights. But, and my nephew, but he got, we got it, I mean, on hotspot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's great. Because the modern phones are 5G phones. That fifth generation internet is really fast. And you can watch high definition. You can watch TV and everything. That G can be confusing because they also measure data in size by megabytes and gigabytes. And sometimes you'll see that G and it means gigabytes and not fifth generation Wi-Fi. Comcast did that recently. They had TV commercials offering 9G. Well, that's 9 gigabits per second download speed. It's not ninth generation, but they named it that because they wanted people who had 5G to think they were getting a ninth generation when they weren't. And then somebody sued them, and the courts made them stop. They said that's really misleading. You know, you're trying to sell. I mean, granted, it's high speed, but you're using terminology that people know from one thing to kind of mess with us a little bit. Yes.
Sometimes I may be able to babysit.
Yeah.
In Chicago, I have no internet access, for example.
On your phone, you mean?
Directions, yeah.
Okay.
What I have to do, like, sometimes I need, when it's traffic, I have to go left or right somewhere, and I need directions, and I have no access.
Okay.
What I have to do is that.
Okay. So her question is, what happens if I'm in Chicago or someplace else that I don't have good internet access, but I still need to use my phone to navigate? More and more apps on your phone have what they call offline mode. So, for example, we went to Costa Rica. There's lots, and we were going to drive from one end of Costa Rica to the other end and in through the mountains, and there's lots of areas in there that don't have any internet access. You can download a map to the phone so you can still navigate to and from places when it has no internet connection. There are a lot of other apps you can do that with too, like YouTube. So if you have like a tablet, right, and you got a kid who wants to watch something on YouTube, but you got to get in the car and they're not going to have Wi-Fi in the car, you can download the YouTube video to the device offline mode, and then the kid can get in the car and watch it on the tablet. But you have to do it when you have internet, because what it does, it kind of downloads it temporarily to the device. so you can watch it. You don't see where it goes. It kind of just does it automatically. But many of these apps on tablets and smartphones have an offline mode for that very reason. You can download maps. Anytime I'm traveling and far away, I download the map in Google Maps. It's called offline maps. You just go to Google Maps and look for your offline maps, and you can just pinch and zoom and tell it what area you want to download to the phone. And then when you get to where you're going, you don't have to worry about internet access to that. You're welcome. It's pretty handy. Okay, so that's a lot. Okay, we talked about where the internet came from. We talked about it's a worldwide computer network that we can all connect to, and we talked about routers and all that. So why don't we just take 10 minutes and take a break?
Cool.
Right? Clear our heads a little bit, and then we'll come back, have some coffee, or you know what? We'll get some more waters out there and some more pop for you if you want, and because we have more. And then clear our heads, and we'll come back and do the rest of this in a minute.
Going away.
When is gonna be the last class of this semester?
I have them all on the website, but let me.
Because I'm going for vacation, that's why.
Yes. Myra. Got it. Let's go ahead. 14th, 21st of May, the 3 classes in May, June, there are 5 classes in June. That's it. The last class is June, Tuesday, June 30th. Tuesday, June 30th. Where are you gonna be? When you gonna go?
29.
June?
Yeah.
You'd miss spreadsheets part 2. You would miss spreadsheets part 2. And then what I'm doing is in between my 12 classes, I do were you at the meditation ones?
No.
Practice meditation. So I do a healthy, how to use these devices in a healthy way. It's a media literacy and misinformation. And then we do a 4-part meditation class on how these are affecting our brain.
Yeah, I could attend, but we'll be in this semester, right?
It's between them. So that'll be in
Between,
July.
Okay,
That'll be in July.
yeah.
July 21st.
Oh, I will be there.
Okay.
And also those classes that you had last week, are you gonna repeat that? Sometime?
That was yeah. So I do 12 in the spring, I do 12 in the fall at the other location, then I just repeat them back and forth. But if you want, it was tablets and smartphones.
Just one time thing or classes?
No, the classes I do 12 classes, and then I repeat all 12 classes again. So I do 12 classes 2 times a year, in the spring and in the fall, and they're all the same.
On the fall, they'll be same like you have now, right?
Right. But they're at the other location in the afternoon, on Friday afternoons. You were there. Friday afternoons at the main library.
Yes, okay, now I have organic kids.
Yeah. Well, so yeah.
It's usually Friday, but sometimes it's change. And,
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
that is always available.
Okay. So yeah, it's the same 12 classes in the same order, but I do them here in the spring every Tuesday night and over there in the Friday afternoon for 12 weeks. And then in between, I do the healthy thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay. No, we're not out. Yeah, he's leaving. That's man, I left me to one man. That's fucking.
Because the last one. And then it's like, it's the same popularity that it's done back then, it was boring because the same popularity, I'm still saying, and if you want a problem, the person, like coming out, so you guys have a fix. They don't take the whole lot of my mama, because I think I'm already. I know that. Yes, I think I'm going to get it together inside of the if they got the one and only go 30 and sometimes it's higher, but they could put that in another three class. I think I said I was going. I ain't think I can get around you. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I don't know. Again, it's from the top page. Which they did.
Right.
Yeah, dark land. When I think about it, no better, no better. And as I told you, I think that's just like the larger tab. And I think they're told to send them spend some 60 and 75, 75. It was the old, we don't think that there's. Oh, I'm not doing it. We just make them run two potatoes and I just sit down and there's the dinner house, right? So I don't know. You know, we've been on okay. Okay. Yeah, I might be going tonight. Yeah, we can drive. Well, thank you for this happening. You bad way. I don't know how you. And it wasn't even that. It wasn't, so now I, you know, well, I mean, I think that I don't. You know, kids with kids and all that, but I. That's wrong. I don't do that. I just need my eyes to be there or interest and do one. What are you going to do about on this? What are you going to on our yeah, they want to know. Yeah, they were still at the experience. They just come outside. They all really like the stock right here. And you'll see it on. It's big, But I know I'm like, they're one people. The rain, I know. You're out of my eyes. I'm like, you're that. Maybe the thing is being what do you think you need to know? That's why I'm just only doing a picture. Oh, it's I'm sorry, but I have to do it. That's my life. Or I'm like, so. But we actually do it. But we do it for yourself. I'm going to say, yeah, good. I guess. You always come and go to the
This, is this real or? And I'm, is it a little bit? I don't know, confused, not confused, I'm scared to see.
That is probably legitimate, but you should be concerned about a message.
Yeah,
I would, if you see that in the future, I would always ask, like me, that's coming to help desk. But it's what it's telling you is you can just update the software on the phone and it'll start to work. The problem is, how old is that phone? Like me? That's not as old as you. Oh, okay.
this is, I think, 6.
Okay. We have to see if that can take the new episode. It might be just getting so old that it won't open chasing anything.
And then I can go to,
The computer.
oh, okay,
You can do it on the computer still,
okay.
but they're saying that the app they make for your phone won't work with the phone software being that old. And you may be able to update the phone software, but if it's really old, you might not. There comes a point where the phone goes, I can't take anymore. I don't have enough memory for the new upload. So you're stuck in the past.
You see that, like, maybe,
Well,
mean,
I mean,
just pictures, banks,
emergencies. I mean, it's a phone with you everywhere.
always.
So there are some good phones that are inexpensive that we can move you to. So if you come into help desk, I can help you shop. We can look to see if we can upgrade the phone. And if we can't, then we can shop for a new phone. We can find you a new phone that's not expensive.
How much you can do?
A lot of phones, who do you get your phone service from?
AT&T.
AT&T will give you a free phone if you stay. It's one of those. You can go into AT&T. Are you? Did you always use iPhones?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, those.
Oh yeah, the flip phones. Yeah, those. No. You have a lot more choice with Android phones. With Apple, you have to buy a phone from Apple. Oh, you're on their plan?
They pay. That's me.
Okay.
I don't have no any wishes to change anything.
It's our lot in life that we're going to be upgrading our phone between now and the day we die. It's just wait a minute. It's Sisyphus. It's Sisyphus pushing a boulder up the hill. It's us updating our phone. It's something you're gonna have to do. But it is handy. You have your bank. It's an emergency. You know, it's nice for emergencies and all that. So ask your kids when they're gonna give you the next hand-me-down. Maybe they're ready for a new phone.
But I have so many commercial calls, you know.
Oh, I know. We all do. It's terrible.
Always is I mean, it's not off, just, you know, just cannot stand it. All day long, you have to just answer that. I don't answer.
You come and see me at Help Desk. There's ways we can help that. There's ways we can help the spam calls. Make it less.
I want Thursday.
Tuesday and Thursday between 1 and 4.
I will.
Oh, remain? Well, yeah, it's either Sam or I. Most of the time it's me, but if I'm busy, I'll have Sam cover it for him.
I have
And if you can't make it between 1 and 4, just call me and we'll schedule a time. I'm at the library just about every day, so we can schedule another time to do it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, maybe I will. Whenever it's convenient, because I'm retired. You know.
Well, on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 and 4, that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting there waiting for somebody to come in for help. So I'm always going to be available for that during those days.
Because I have a computer. My daughter, she gave me, this was her company computer.
Okay.
And and now she's married and she has her company and she's still working for, you know, her job. And she's so busy and I really don't want to bother her. That computer has a lot of stuff from her board, like 10 years ago. And that computer, old computer, has no space and always reminding me, there is no space, you have to free your computer, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how I can do that, but don't touch those. Can I raise that? I don't know that.
Come in and see me. We'll look at that. We could do that too. That's all great stuff for Help Desk. You're welcome.
Supposedly they're always problem because I mess about it.
Yeah, the batteries don't last either. Okay. All right, we're going to get back to it. A nice 15-minute break. We're going to start talking about browsers and how web pages and stuff actually work. So what is a web page exactly? A web page is a document that some other user on a computer out on the internet created and then shared it with the entire world that they can look at it. That's what a web page is. We all have that ability, okay? In the early days of the internet, you know, high school kids would get a computer at home and make a web page just for themselves. This is my picture, this is what I'm interested in, and stuff like that. It was really popular, okay? You had to be computer savvy, but a lot of the kids back then were. And then websites started to pop up that would kind of like help kids. They realized how popular that was, so then you came out with a website called MySpace, where you could sign up and you could put your own picture and have, and this is what I'm interested in. It was popular with kids, and then it became really popular with musicians who were in bands. They could advertise where they were playing and stuff like that. MySpace, if you created a page on MySpace, everybody in the world could see it. And then Facebook came around and said, well, that's fun and all, but maybe you don't want everybody in the world seeing who you are. So Facebook is that same concept. You can make a page of yourself that you're interested in, but the only people who can see it on Facebook are people you agreed to be friends with. Okay, and we call that social networking. We'll talk about that in a minute. But early web pages were static pages. The early internet was text and pictures, and that's it. Businesses and universities would advertise, and you would see pictures and information, and they would give you links. They call it a hyperlink, kind of for the hypertext transfer protocol language that Tim Berners-Lee created. A hyperlink, and all that did is it's highlighted in blue and underlined, and then you could click on it, and it would take you to a different page on the website or a different web page. So that's what the early internet was. That's all it did. Very simple static pages, links to other pages, and just ways to share information with everybody in the world.
Are there any links that will show you how to do one of those things?
Yeah, so we'll talk about YouTube later. YouTube is a website that anybody in the world can upload videos to. And since we all have video cameras on our phone and YouTube on our phone, it's really easy for me to videotape everybody and just hit a button and upload it to YouTube, and then everybody in the world can see it. So I think I heard that like 1 billion YouTube videos are uploaded every day. It's some big, huge number. So there are a lot of people on there. Also, if you upload a YouTube video and it goes viral and everybody likes it and everybody shares it, if enough people look at it, YouTube sends you money. Because they get advertising dollars from people, because you get ads on YouTube. So if you get enough people looking at your YouTube video, they'll just send you a check. So lots of people upload videos to show you how to do websites, to show you how to hang drywall. I found a video that walks me through changing the valve cover gaskets on my 2008 Subaru. It was just a mechanic. Put up his phone and said, this is how you do it. And I followed along, and it saved me a lot of money. But so, yeah, YouTube is great. There's lots of everything on it. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the language that we use on the internet to find things out there is called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. You don't have to remember that. It's kind of interesting because we kind of all remember that the websites all started with HTTP. Because in the old days, we had to type that in. If we wanted to go to the library's website, we had to open our browser and we had to type in http://www. Well, nowadays, we don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, you don't have to type in the HTTP at all. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to type in the www anymore. But if you type in just ecpl.org, which is our library's website, you'll notice the browser puts that in. It's still up there, but the browser puts it in for you. So the browser will put in the HTTP and the www. So when you want to look at a web page, you need to know the domain name, and that's how you can look at other computers out on the internet. So when you go to a browser and you type in ecpl.org, you're telling your browser to show me what the East Chicago Public Library created and shared with everybody on the internet to look at. So you can think of this browser as like a window to another computer. Okay? That computer's sitting at the main library in the server room. You wouldn't know that. It's out there in the cloud someplace as far as you all know. But that's how you get to it. A domain name. And anybody can buy one of these domain names. Yeah, you pay a small amount for it. They're like $7 to $10 a year. And you just go, and if you want to make your own website, that's what you do. You go online, and there's lots of companies that'll sell them to you. But nowadays, the internet's pretty mature. So there's, you're not going to go out there and find hotels.com because somebody already bought it. Yes.
But are there any free places?
There's places you can do a free web page, but you cannot get a free domain name. The domain name is actually run by the government, kind of still. And what you're paying for with that domain name is maintenance and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, yeah, the library's free, but you got to pay 10 cents for a copy because it's costing us paper and ink. It's kind of the same thing. So nobody's really making money on that necessarily. Some companies resell stuff, and that's different. But so for the most part, there are Google, as a matter of fact, if you sign up for a Gmail address, okay, you have a Google account. And Google comes with a whole bunch of free stuff you can use with that Gmail address. And one of the things they have is called Google Sites. And it's a simple little tool that you can create your own website for free, publish it online for free, right through Google Sites. You just go to the website sites.google.com and log into your Google account. Yeah, they're not bad. You can get some pretty nice websites. I mean, depending on what your website to do. If it's going to be a pretty static web page advertising a small business, it's totally fine. But as soon as you start talking about things, oh, well, I want people to go to my website and buy T-shirts, then it's starting to get more complicated, right? Now you got a website that's got to have a way for people to click on things, add to a cart, and check out with credit cards and stuff like that. That's called e-commerce. And there are even some free e-commerce sites that are ad supported too. But it starts to get a little bit more complicated that way. One of the most popular platforms for programming a website is called WordPress. It's been around for a long time. I actually designed and implemented the library's website myself, but I wasn't really a good web developer. Actually, we were about ready to upgrade the website for the library, and we were looking at outside companies to do it. And then COVID hit, and we all got sent home. So I learned WordPress when I was home for COVID. So when I came back to the library after COVID, I said, hey, I made a new website while we were done. So, website for that, for WordPress. Well, WordPress requires a hosting package, so you're looking probably for your basic WordPress site. I would say it's under $100 a year. Not really expensive. You can have a pretty nice professional website with a domain name and all that for under $100 a year. And if it got more complicated, it could be a little bit more complicated, but maybe a little bit more expensive. There are companies that do it for you. And so your local restaurant, you don't have somebody at your local restaurant that knows how to make a web page and to keep it up with all the specials and stuff like that. So there are a lot of independent little website companies that you can go to, and you pay them per month. They maintain your website. They make sure that there's no problems with it. Something like that, you're probably looking at $30 to $50 a month, but it's a full service thing and you don't have to worry about it. And for a restaurant to be able to, for people to look at the menu and to make reservations, it's worth it for something like that. Now, this is what they call a domain name. Okay, so basically what that domain name is doing is it's identifying a computer on the network, on our worldwide network. So ecpl.org is a computer sitting in my server room. When you type that in, it says, oh, I know that computer. It's registered on the internet, and this is the IP address. This is its unique number. It knows exactly where it sits. So you type that in, and it goes to that computer and shows you the library website. That's what we call a domain name. There's also something called a URL. A URL is another three-letter acronym. It stands for Uniform Resource Locator. And that's the individual pages that are on the domain. So ecpl.org, our library website, will take you to my computer and show you the website. But if you wanted to look right at the computer classes page on the website, you'd have to, after the domain name, you'd have to put in a / like this, and then type in classes. When you type all that in, it'll take you directly to the page on my domain, on our domain, that has the computer classes on it. So when you open up a browser, you can type in ecpl.org / classes, and then you'll see all of the classes that we teach here and an outline of them and a schedule for when they're coming up.
So that same concept also works for other domains as well.
It does. So if you want to read the news, you go to CNN.com. But if you want to see a specific story, it's going to be at a URL. It's going to be CNN.com/ and the name of the story. So these things you can type in. They're more specific. It's like a page on the domain. So all of CNN's stories are at CNN.com, but each one of their stories are at their own unique URLs. That's what they call URL. So you'll hear people say, well, go to this URL. And that means you're going to a very specific page on that computer, is what that means. So you'll hear people say URL. They'll never say Uniform Resource Locator. But you do hear people say, oh, go to this my URL. They'll say that. So. Okay, you're welcome. So nowadays, web pages have gotten pretty complicated. So we're getting into the early internet, like I said, was static websites. Just text and pictures and information and links to go to other pages with text and pictures and information. And that's about all you could do. There wasn't video. There wasn't enough bandwidth on the phone line for you to watch a video on the internet, right? So you just had to look at the pages. Also, the early internet was full of many different search engines. Those were early websites that just help you find things on the internet. Google was just a search engine at first. That's all it did. You went to the website google.com, and it just had a little box for you to type in keywords for what you wanted to find. Yahoo was an early search engine. Microsoft's early search engine was called MSN, Microsoft Network. They changed it to Bing. Huh?
I know Bing was.
Yeah, so MSN changed to Bing. And the reason they changed it to Bing is because they were very jealous that people would say, oh, well, why don't you just Google that? Like a verb, right? So they said, well, no one's going to say, let's MSN that. So they were trying to come up with something that people could maybe use as kind of like Google. Bing it. Let's Bing it. As a matter of fact, they paid for some product placement in big movies. There's this spy movie. I don't think it was a 007 movie, but there was a spy movie, and there's these two people walking through a art gallery, right? And they see this piece of art, and the one guy, oh, this is very interesting, and the woman says, oh yeah, I'll Bing it. And everybody laughed because nobody says that, right? And they knew Microsoft paid the movie to get that in there. So they were trying really hard for people to start saying, let's Bing it, but it didn't work. Bing is still around. And it's the Google competitor for searching for pages on the internet. They call it Bing. And if you look at Bing and you look at Google, they're very similar. And it's a fine search engine. It's fine. I find it has a little bit more advertisements than Google. I think Google's a little bit more transparent with the ads they push out to you on the search engine. But they're both fine. People often get confused with the difference between the web page Google, which is just a website that's just a search engine, and the browser called Google Chrome. Google Chrome is the computer program that we use to look at all web pages out there, whether it's CNN.com, Yahoo.com, the library's website, or Google. Google.com is just a web page that you use to search for things. So it can be confusing. But you can open up Microsoft's browser, the Edge browser, and you can go to Google.com, the website, and search for things. So that's where people get confused. And hopefully when we start using a browser next week, I'm going to show you how to use a search engine, and we'll look at how search engines work and all that. And then when you get more used to the browser, I think it'll be a little bit more clear. So after the internet got a little bit more sophisticated, and when it became a little bit more sophisticated is when people started getting cable internet. Because then they had high-speed internet that they didn't have to tell somebody to get off the phone to use. It was always on. Okay, Nicholas, have a good night. See ya. So once everybody had high-speed internet that was on all the time, well, then the websites could get a lot more complicated. Then CNN could put like video clips, and you could watch video clips because it was enough bandwidth to see the video. Then the websites started to become interactive. They called it Web 2.0, is what they called it. That's when the internet pages weren't just static pages with text and pictures, but you could put data on the website yourself, like Facebook with MySpace. You could add data to the website as well, the user input. As a matter of fact, in 2006, it really took off. And and all this user-generated content, they called it crowd sharing, where people all over the world were uploading stuff to the internet that was really useful. Just regular people. We could all create our own Facebook pages, create our own MySpace pages. We could put information up there automatically. And that really made the internet a much more interesting place. So much so that the Time Person of the Year in 2006 was you. Right. I still put that on my resume. Time Magazine Person of the Year 2006. You look at my resume, it's on there. And then they look it up and they say, oh, we were all, because there were so many people uploading stuff to the internet that actually all the people who were using the internet was the Time Magazine Person of the Year, because it made the internet so much more rich and so much more. And now it's just so much more full of crap that now we have the opposite problem. It turns out, when the internet first got on our phones, I thought, well, surely we're going to get smarter. We have all the world's information right at our fingertips. But more information doesn't make you smarter. It's kind of like trying to get healthier by eating more food, right? No. More information is just going to make you sick, and that's actually where we are today. So I spent a lot of time teaching computer classes, teaching people how to upload photos and tag their photos and all that. And now more and more, I'm teaching people how to put the phone down and how to have some peace in your life. But we can't put them away altogether because these are very useful things. We need them in our lives, so we kind of have to have a balance. Is what we have to do.
Like you say, anything, too much of anything is bad for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And the internet is definitely that. So that's what we also call that social networking. That's when we could use these websites to be social with other people. And there are a lot of great stories on how social networking did great things in the world. And there's a lot of horrible stories on how it really messed things up. Yeah. But, it's a tool. Tools are used for good and bad. A pencil has been used for good and evil. It's just another tool. It's how we use it. Okay. So after social networking, then we started getting into what we call cloud computing and cloud storage. And that's where it really starts getting interesting. Because now we can store our data on the internet and not on our computers. Okay? That's great because now I can get to my data anywhere in the world. I can get to the internet. I can be on vacation without my cell phone. I can go into an internet cafe or a hotel. I can log into a computer. I can get to all my stuff. That's really handy. And more websites are fully functional computer programs right in the website. And that's what we call cloud computing. I get that too. Yeah. So if you're a woman, you're probably getting messages from Facebook and the internet and other people. It tends to be I'm just seeing my mother's cell phone. She's getting contacted by people who say they are in the military, they're a widower, and they live overseas. And they're looking for companionship. They're none of those things, right? But see, I'm getting a lot of text messages from very young, attractive women who I don't know. They're all coming from some fat Russian guy, probably, right? Come to see me in the help desk. We got to look at that. It might not be anything, but that's something. So with modern phone sharing, if you create a photo album, you can share that photo and let other people add to it. That could be as simple as what it is. It could be that you have. So is that an iPhone? Do you have anybody else on your iPhone plan? Then, just to be sure, I would say change your password. Change your iCloud password. Just in case, it's never a problem to do that. You go to apple.com, you log into iCloud and say, I want to change my password. You can probably do it right from the phone. But if you come and see me, I can help you with that. Because how secure is it? Pretty secure, but somebody could always break your window and run off with your laptop. So, I mean, how secure is that? If somebody wants your information, they can get it, kind of is the thing. But, huh? It could be something you accidentally downloaded to the phone from a website, and it accidentally got integrated with your pictures. You went, whose picture is this? And it might have just been from a website. But like I said, come in and we can take a look at that if you're worried. And anybody, if you're worried about scams, if you're worried about anything, that's what the help desk is for. I also work here full time. So I'm the only mic that works here, amazingly. I don't know how that worked. But you can always just call and say, hey, I got this weird thing. Is this something I can do? So the library is here for you for kind of stuff like that. It is secure. It is secure. It's password protected. And I don't know if you have a Google account or an iCloud account, if you ever log into your Google account or iCloud account on a different computer, they email you and say, hey, somebody logged in with your information on a different computer. Was it you? So these companies are kind of always trying to protect themselves. So it's actually pretty secure. Pretty secure. Computers are hard to hack. You know what's easy to hack? Us. They don't go after the computers anymore. They're going after us. I think we're entering into a scam-based economy, right? Because they can't hack the computers anymore. So I do have a class after the browser class called Safety and Security on the Internet, and that's what we talk about. Okay? People are trying to scam us all the time, and that's where the weak link is. Not the computers. We're the weak link. We trust people. We have to trust people. We have to default to trust because we are social people. We wouldn't survive if we didn't trust people. Unfortunately, that makes us vulnerable to scams, and we just have to be vigilant about those things. Yeah. Roku, yeah. Streaming TV. So you move the device to a different TV and it makes you sign in again? That shouldn't happen. You get logged out of those sometimes, so once in a while it's probably nothing. My Netflix will log me out. So sometimes the app gets updated and it'll log you out and you got to log back in with your phone. But if it's doing it on a regular basis, that might be an issue that we can fix. But it's a little Roku stick. Bring it in here. Works the same here as it does in your house. So we can check that out in the help desk. You can plug that right into the computer or any TV here. You can go up into my office. I'll plug it into the TV there and we can mess with it. So the internet we talked about last week, if you weren't here, the internet is also called the cloud, right? And they call it the cloud because people don't know where things are. If I didn't tell you that our library's website was sitting on a computer at the other location, you'd think it was out in the cloud someplace, and that's why they call it the cloud. But we call it the cloud now, slang, and we divide it into cloud storage, where we can upload files from our device or our computer to a password-protected cloud-based account, like an iCloud account, which is what you have to sign up for when you get an Apple iPhone or an iPad. If you get a Google phone or a Google tablet, then they ask you to sign up for a Gmail account, which is a Google account, and it gives you free storage space. which it's handy if you have very important documents that you want to back up. So what happens if you lose your phone or computer? Well, they're not really on the phone or computer if you're storing them in the cloud. You're using your computer to look at them on the internet. And when you get a new computer or you get a new phone, if they were on the cloud, you can just log in the same way you were always were and you still have all your stuff. So it's a very handy and safe way to store information. Cloud computing is when you're running a fully functional computer program through a browser that's not installed on your computer. Okay, we talked about this last week. If you weren't here last week, the two examples I gave were Windows computers used to come with a solitaire program, and it was installed on the computer, and you could play solitaire. Well, they don't install it anymore. There are web pages you can go to and play solitaire right on a web page. That's cloud-based computing. That means you're using a computer program, a solitaire program that is installed on another computer out on the internet someplace, and you're running it through your browser. Okay? And then that's nice because you can save your games, get a new computer. See, okay, my aunt was playing Free Cell on her computer. She got a new computer, and she's like, "Where's all my Free Cell stats?" Well, they're on your old computer because that was installed on the computer. But if you're playing it on a web page, you get a new computer and it doesn't change. It's just through the website. You're using email's the same way. In the old days, we used to install email on a computer like Outlook Express. And we'd have to say, "Hey, get off the phone. I need to send my email." And you could send your email and download the email from the internet. And then you could say, "Okay, get back on the phone now." And then you could read your emails because they were all on your computer. Nowadays, we go to a website and we send and receive email right on the website. It's a fully functional computer program, sends and receives email, and lets you edit email and sort your email, but it's not installed on your computer. It's cloud-based. It's out there on the internet. For the library, we had a lot, when I got here, there was a lot of software installed on the servers here. I don't like that because people can hack into my servers, lock them up and demand ransom money to get my data back. You know, and there have been libraries that happened to. Frankfurt Public Library, some hackers could have been overseas, froze up all their machines and said, "We want $2 million for all your data back." And the board said, "Pay them the $2 million." Because when they sat and thought about it, they said, "Well, that's all the books that we have, all the people who have library cards, all the checkouts we have. It's all the library data." So when I got here, I'm like, I don't want that on premises. I want that cloud-based. It's a lot more secure if it's on, you know where that sits? On data centers is where that sits. You're hearing all these people going, "Oh, we don't want a data center in Hobart?" Yeah, that's where these cloud-based programs are sitting, in data centers. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't know. They wanted that money transferred with cryptocurrency, so you couldn't trace it. I don't. Sometimes they can trace that, but I didn't follow up. I just remember that I was in my transition from my old library in Central Indiana to this one at the time, and it was made a lot of news. But they call that ransomware, where a hacker will get in and lock up your stuff, and then demand a ransom to get it back. And you don't even know if you're going to get your data back. You could pay them the ransom, and they could just. Yeah. You'll hear it on the news. It happens fairly frequently. But as an IT guy, that's, the IT guy at Frankfurt, he said, "Well, that's okay. I have everything backed up. We'll just restore it from backup." Well, he had the backup attached to the computer, and they locked it up too. They locked up his backups. So like here at the library, we back up computers and servers, and those get, overnight, the backups get transferred off-site securely. So if that were to happen to us, we could get the backups from a secure off-site location. Yeah, Pete.
You have an opinion of data center?
I do. Yeah, I do. So a lot of it is AI, because AI is processor heavy. But I have a feeling in 10 years we're not going to be talking about data centers at all. I think it's a temporary problem. Technology grows exponentially. and we're in an exponential growth curve that is fast. That means that in 10 years, the data center is going to be able to fit in this room. The whole data center in Hobart will be able to fit in this room, or smaller, maybe in your phone. I mean, that's how fast it moves. But also, AI is really going to move us into a period of very cheap energy and abundance. So, the complaints, I understand the complaints. They're saying they're not communicating with the public enough about water usage, pollution, and all that kind of stuff, and they're not. And that is a very, that's a very important thing to fight. You don't want them to come in and mess up the environment and mess up the water table and all that kind of stuff. So the people that I've heard talk about the Hobart Data Center in particular, because it's very large, we're all saying the same thing. They're like, we're not really opposed to the data center in theory. We're getting lied to. Or they feel they're getting lied to, I don't even really know. They feel they're getting lied to, and they feel that it's being misrepresented. And that's the concern. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah. Huh? It's so my mother lives right by there. So when I go over, it's right off 61st Avenue and 65. So you get off,
Okay, it's where the 69th Avenue.
I don't know, 69, 61st. So 61st goes through Gary and Maryville there into Hobart. Right. So if you're going south on 65 and you go into Hobart and not towards Maryville, it doesn't take too long, and about a mile down you'll see it on the right. And there's nothing. It's all farmland. But the thing is when you see where the trucks are and where they're moving dirt, it looks insanely huge. I mean, it looks like NASA came to town. I mean, it takes your breath away a little bit how big it is. Yeah. I don't know if my mother has an opinion. Honestly, I haven't even asked her. She's not that close, but I know of it, and I have some friends who are against it and go protest it and stuff like that. And they ask my opinion. That's like, I understand their point. You want your government to be honest with you, and they're afraid that it's going to be a money grab. I think. Yeah. Right. So, but at the same time, I understand that I am using those data centers all the time. We all are. Our Gmails are all on data centers. I was certified in document management and toured data centers in Colorado. And I got to tell you, it was an amazing thing. I went to this old cigar factory, 5 stories high in Colorado. And it looked like an old cigar factory. They did not advertise it as a data center because there's sensitive data in it. Right? So when you first walked in the main room, it looked like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. It was dark, and there were TVs everywhere, and there were people sitting at desks monitoring foreign television looking for disasters. It was cool looking. And then they said, okay, so we have power coming in from both sides of the building. It was a full city block, 5 stories high. And they said, because if power goes out on one side of the building, we can pick it up on the other side of the building. And then they said, we have a data center just like this on the East Coast and on the West Coast. So, and we duplicate all the data in all of them. So if the whole power goes out on the Eastern Seaboard, we still have 2 duplicate data centers so our customers won't lose their data. And then somebody said, well, what if 2 of them go down? And then the guy said, then your data is the least of your problems. Got way bigger problems to deal with if that's the case. So it was a very interesting tour, and they took us through the whole thing, and it was interesting. And these have been around for a long time. Google has data centers that are on ships in the ocean. Yeah, and they need the water for cooling, so they have just big barges that just sail in the ocean that's full of your Gmail. It's pretty crazy, but what people don't understand is exponential growth of technology makes everything smaller and faster, and all these big data centers are just going to get smaller, faster. And when quantum computing takes off, the computers are going to be 1 billion times faster in a blink of an eye, and then things get crazy. We talk about that in the AI class.
Do you think with conventional technology, is that going to lessen that, like some tech guys that are working on these things?
Tech guys, probably. It's already affecting the programming. When I was looking for Sam as an assistant, I was looking for an assistant. I got tons of applications from recently graduated computer programmers. And they had great skills and good grades, but it's like, I don't need a computer programmer. I need a generic IT everything guy to help people at the library. That's not what I needed. So yes, but if you look back at all the other times that technology really displaced workers, it didn't make huge unemployment. So they're kind of saying, well, in the past, the internet didn't end the library system. People thought it would. People got jobs doing other things. You know, when the coal industry went down, they got jobs in the oil field. They got jobs in the solar farms. Yeah? So things just move. So it'll change, but I don't think we're going to have any kind of, at least the people who are smarter than me are saying we're probably not going to have widespread unemployment. Okay. Using a search engine. I have this in here. I need to take this slide out because that's what we're going to do in the browser class next week. So in the browser class, I show you how to use a browser. I show you all the different things a browser can do, and we actually start playing around with search engines and other web pages. But let me just end this here, because we're about done, with some interesting web pages for you to look at and explore. Wikipedia.org is an online encyclopedia that anyone can edit. Anyone in the world can edit it. You can too. You have to sign up for a free account, and you can put information. If you're an expert in the field, you can put information up there. As a matter of fact, I encourage the librarians who work here at the library to edit the East Chicago Public Library Wikipedia page. Who are the experts on local history? Our staff here at the East Chicago Public Library, and they have. They've gone on and they've made updates themselves. Turns out people say things like, oh, and if you got one of these handouts, I have all these web pages written in the outline. Turns out it is surprisingly accurate, even though they let anybody in the world edit it. As a matter of fact, study after study shows that Wikipedia pages tend to have fewer errors than the encyclopedia that is printed on the library shelf. Why is that? Well, for one thing, once you print it on paper and put it on the shelf, it's very hard to change. If it's wrong on the shelf, and that's where it stays wrong. But also, it turns out that people are, there was a female scientist who said, you know, sometimes if I'm working on a very difficult scientific problem, I'll go to the internet and I'll ask the internet to help me solve this problem. And I don't hear any reply. Nobody wants to help me. So what she did is she logged in as a different person and replied to her own post with wrong information. And then everybody was super happy to tell that person why they're wrong. Turns out people are very, very happy to get online and tell you when you're wrong. So if something does get put up on Wikipedia that's wrong, there is a line of people going, no, that's wrong. Also, they have to cite their sources. And if in Wikipedia that somebody puts something up there without a citation, it has in parentheses citation needed, which is pretty much telling you, this might, you know. So what happens is, that doesn't mean to say that there aren't some things that are up there wrong. When somebody dies, they'll lock down a page. Like when Michael Jackson died, they locked down the page. As a matter of fact, his death hit Wikipedia before the news. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, did she? Okay, yeah, that might have been. She might have been eclipsed by Michael Jackson, though. But Justin Bieber was, okay, so Justin Bieber was up for Album of the Year. And a jazz bass player named Esperanza Spalding, who I absolutely love, was also up for the new Album of the Year. Why would an upright bass player be up for Album of the Year for the Grammys? Yet, here she was. And I was a fan. So I watched the Grammys that night, and she beat Justin Bieber for Album of the Year. And she deserved it. She was great. And anyway, and she's playing City Winery coming up. If you like her, that's a small club. She's got like 3 shows at City Winery in Chicago. Anyway, so all the Justin Bieber fans went onto her Wikipedia page and just completely trashed her Wikipedia page and put a bunch of junk up there. So sometimes they lock down the page, but surprisingly, Wikipedia is actually very accurate. It does a good job.
What was one?
Wikipedia.
I'm born.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But if you're wrong, somebody will tell you that real quick. But yes, you can, and it's great. It's an online encyclopedia. So just about anything you can imagine, there's an encyclopedia page for it. Any famous person you can imagine, there's going to be a Wikipedia page for that. It's a great place to start because they give you citations. So yes, I would, because right. So when you see something on the internet that you're not sure is true or not, first thing you do, go to Wikipedia and then look at the citations and compare. Yeah, so absolutely. I would say that is a good starting point for a college. Yeah, for college, for sure. Yeah.
So, his birthday is in August. It's been on here, it's great. For him and for his daughter.
Yeah.
So, you know, is this next coming from?
People see it, they don't I see that a lot with people who died. I'll see, oh, did you see so and so just died? I'm like, no, so and so died like 4 years ago. Somebody just saw it again, didn't remember that they died, and then posted it again, and then people share it. So yeah, there's some garbage out there. And we talk about that in safety and security on the internet too, because there's a lot of misinformation out on the internet and a lot of repeated. So this is where Snopes.com comes in. Snopes.com was created because there were a lot of hoaxes going around the internet. People were emailing and putting up on Facebook things like, oh, if you forward this message, Bill Gates will give you $1. He's trying to test email. That's fake. There was a lot of posts about, oh, this month the Mars is going to be so close, it's going to be bigger than the moon in the sky. No, but people saw it and then they shared it with a bunch of people. And so if you're not sure about stuff you see on social media, Snopes.com is a long-running, very good website that tells you whether things are real or not. Yeah. Yes.
So it's true that nobody, very much, you know what I mean? Nobody's getting monitored, but you can't wait.
Well,
They look up stuff, they don't do everything you see, of course, but how can you, something out there for knowledge and information? How do you know?
so the internet, the government's not going to look for things and try to determine what's true or not. But think of the library. Why would the library put a book on the shelf that's full of stuff that's not true? Does it happen? Happens all the time. It happens all the time. Why? It's not a librarian's job to determine what is true and what is not true. A librarian's job is to offer access to information to the public. And sometimes you want misinformation on a shelf. If you have somebody who's a real jerk putting books together that are saying awful things that are not true, you might want to be able to point to that and say, this is what that person published. You might not want to censor that. So librarians, as well as the internet, they're against censorship. That means, yes, sometimes there are things that are on the library shelf and things on the internet that are not true, but that's not, ask a librarian about censorship and they're like, nope. And they also say they're not fact checkers. It seems counterintuitive because we're sitting on top of a collection organized into fiction and nonfiction, yet there are things that are on the shelf that are not true. And you don't necessarily, you kind of want that sometimes. You want to see what people are saying that are not true. You don't want to put that away, right? So no, nobody's monitoring it. It's up to us to figure it out. And that's why we're having a lot of problems today. All right, Pete, that's it. That's all we got for today. And all right, next Friday, we're going to do how to use a browser. We're going to start getting into the search engine, doing Google searches. Next Tuesday, what did I say? Friday. Yeah, Friday's in the fall. I'm sorry. Friday's in the fall. Hey, Kevin.
I know one of the, I think you told me before. I don't know when you've been teaching computer.
I'm sorry?
I said, you told it before, I think, but I'm saying, how long have you been teaching computer?
I've been teaching computer classes since 1995.
Got it.
So what is that? 95? That's 30 years. I've been in the library system for 18 years. I've been teaching at libraries for 18 years, and before that, I was teaching computer classes and managing IT departments for real estate companies. You welcome.
Do you believe that the advent of technology is going to affect individuals who are studying, let's say, for library or something?
Say that again. I don't quite understand the question.
Do you think that computers and technology will affect the employment prospects of individuals who may be studying for MLS?
Master of Library Science.
Correct.
Probably not. I think libraries are going to weather this storm just fine. As a matter of fact, libraries are increasingly getting more into the realm of technology because libraries are arbiters of media. And that's books, that's radio and television, that's audio, video, and it's constitutionally protected. And that's the internet, and that's AI. So we offer media to the public that is equitable, right? So the library's job is to provide equitable access to media. So, I mean, which all this technology is just more media. So yeah, we're not going away. And so an MLS degree has changed a lot. So now when you get into MLS degree, internet. Some things can go away, like computer programming, they're not controlling computers. No.
So that'll affect their prospects for employment.
Right. It's going to affect. So think of it this way. The Industrial Revolution automated manual labor, right? So did that affect how many people doing manual labor? Absolutely. You didn't see people on the side of the road breaking big rocks into little rocks anymore. We had a machine that would do that. So that job went away completely. Thank God that job went away completely, or else some of us would be working, making big rocks into little rocks, right? So now what AI is doing is it is replacing some of the manual labor that was cognitive, not physical. So that's the difference. Did the Industrial Revolution cause a bunch of unemployment? No, it just shifted things around. And I think that's the way modern technology and computers is going to be the same way. It's going to adjust, but it's going to be a tool to help our cognition, which all of media is. The printing people, when the printing press came out, said it was going to ruin everybody's brain because they don't have to memorize things anymore. Absolutely. No, they were saying about the printing press. There were a bunch of people talking about the printing press going, oh, that's going to ruin everybody's brain. But they don't have to memorize stuff anymore. Before that, everybody had to memorize stuff. And, you know, we used to have to memorize the map if we wanted to drive into Chicago.
Or Rolodex,
Or-
phone numbers.
Yeah, or Rolodex with phone numbers, and that's been long gone. We don't have to memorize that anymore. But now, it's a tool, and it's all how you use it, you know.